Drop what you're doing, YouTube. It's your boy, Dick Yoda, and we're here to talk about defense. My personal top 5 tips to being good at defense in Madden. This is a video that is only about winning games. This is New England Patriots football, okay? We're gonna be like Bill Belichick. The only goal is to win. And if it helps us win, we want to do it. And if it doesn't help us win, we don't want to do it. These are also 5 of the most important tips that will help you to play significantly better on defense. So, tip number 1, know yourself, know your strengths, know your weaknesses. What are you good at and what are you not good at? What can you use to your advantage? And what are your weaknesses that you don't want to show up during the game? If you are a really bad at playing run defense, but really good at playing pass defense, then your focus should be to get your opponent to pass the ball as much as possible. Force your opponent to play to his disadvantages. But that also means for yourself is that you want to play to your advantages. You can't even know what are the advantages and disadvantages are in a game of Madden if you don't understand your own strengths and weaknesses. So tip number 1, know your strengths and know your weaknesses. Number 2, know each of your plays and setups, strengths and weaknesses. With every play you pick, there are strengths and weaknesses. No play is perfect on offense or defense. This type of defense is very good on short passing, right? Because you have 5 defenders playing defensive zones that play short, all right? And you have 2 deep safeties, and those are the only 2 deep guys. And you have this middle linebacker here who really has 2 jobs to play both the deep middle and the underneath middle. So if you want to look at this, what are this type of defense's weaknesses? Are the middle, the deep middle and the underneath middle, and targeting this middle linebacker, all right, in coverage. You have to know the personnel as well, all right? So in this play, I'm in 4-3, which means that I have 4 defensive linemen and 3 linebackers, okay? And then 4 defensive backs. Your disadvantage is when you're trying to have linebackers cover receivers, and that's your opponent's advantage. So in this case, you wouldn't want your opponent to pass the ball with routes that target his wide receivers on linebackers. However, in the run game, you would have the advantage, but it also impacts how you play as your user, right? Obviously, usering is extremely important. If your opponent has 14, right, the Y receiver, Chris Godwin, if he's running a deep post, you have to know whether you're going to cover that. That means the middle of the field underneath will be wide open, or you're going to let it go and cover something else shorter. A play like this is a play you could run on defense. This play has very clear advantages and disadvantages. The advantages are, since you're rushing 8 to the quarterback, the defense can't protect everyone who's rushing. But obviously, there are major gaps in the field. More than half the field is uncovered. Your opponent has a big chance for a big play for him, but you also have a big chance for a big play for you. Whereas something like this, so now you have 3 deep players, which decreases the possibility of you allowing a big play touchdown. But in the shorter area, right, you have 2 fat guys, 2 big guys playing coverage underneath, and they're not likely to be able to play those coverages quite as well, which means you have to be willing to give that up more. These are the basic things that Bill Belichick thinks about every single snap of every single game. Tip number 3, prioritize turnovers. Each team gets 4 to 6 possessions per game, unlike the NFL where you get maybe 10. Because the game is so short, turnovers end up mattering more. So prioritize them. Watch how I prioritize the routes that I want Hightower to cover in the middle of the field. Remember, There's only one guy in the middle field. I have to cover all the routes that go over the middle. Watch how I prioritize them, all right? We're gonna snap the ball here. All right, we're going over the middle, we're watching this, and now we take over the middle dig, okay? So if we go into instant replay real quick, there are 2 guys right now that I potentially have to watch in the middle, all right? Early in the game, you'd wanna maybe stay back like I did to make sure that 13 doesn't go on a post route and beat you over top, down the middle. But I also see that this guy is coming over the middle, all right? And so I'm baiting the quarterback basically to look at my coverage of this guy and say, oh, I can't throw it to that guy. His user's right there. So I'll throw it to this guy who he's not covering, who's about to pop open over the middle. That's where you gotta come in and switch your assignments to play this, all right? Let 13 go deep and let your safeties handle it so that you have the opportunity to come for that interception. Tip number 4, force your opponent to prove their skill and their abilities to adjust. Don't make things harder for yourself, make them harder for your opponent. Your opponent has been running the ball every single play, but you're still afraid to bring your safeties down into more aggressive coverage to help near the line of scrimmage to help stop that run. If you're afraid to do that because you're worried about giving up a touchdown and your opponent has passed the ball 0 or 1 time, don't. All right? If your opponent has not proved to you that they can pass the ball, don't assume that they can. Once you've brought your safeties down and your opponent has gone for a deep ball over top and they've proved to you that they can pass over you, then you say, okay, I'll leave my safeties deep and I'll try to stop the run in a different way. Make your opponent adjust. Make your opponent show off their diversity of skills, their ability to adjust and to do different types of thing on the field before you give them the respect that they haven't earned. Don't give them respect if they haven't earned it yet. You're wasting your time and you're wasting your energy and you're wasting plays and you're wasting your defense if you're trying to stop something your opponent doesn't do. If your opponent doesn't do it, trying to stop it is pointless. Stop the things that your opponent is doing. Stop the things that your opponent, your opponent can do. And you only know if they can do it if they've done it on the field in that game. 5th and finally, the last tip I'm gonna give you is be patient. Win wars, not battles. If you give up a touchdown, a deep 80-yard touchdown in the first quarter, it's not the end of the world. Do not start pressing. You have 4 quarters to win the game. Play like you have 4 quarters to win the game. Play like your opponent is going to run into situations multiple times. Think about what kinds of plays your opponent goes to on that key 3rd down, on that key 4th down. Whatever concept, whatever type of thing your opponent likes to go to in that situation, that's the thing that you should be trying to stop first. If you get to if you have a 4th down in the 2nd quarter and your opponent needs to get this 4th down conversion and they go for a quick out route, that should be the first thing that you try to stop the next time that they get to a 4th down, is that quick out route. If you get to that 2nd, 4th down, you have your hard flats on the field. You have your hard flats on the field. So if your opponent runs quick outs, your guys are there. And now you think, okay, what's the second thing that he's gonna look for? You have to think about what that second thing is. But don't try to think about what that third thing is. Don't try to think about what that fourth thing is. Cover the first thing, cover the second thing, all right? And if your opponent can beat you with the third thing all in the same play, then kudos to him. But you have to stop the first thing that he's gonna go to, and you have to stop the second thing that he's gonna go to. It's okay to be losing after the first quarter. Where you don't wanna be losing is the fourth quarter. So play to be winning after the fourth quarter is over. To combine all these tips, I have the 5 tips listed right here. Review them. Summary of them is: play to your advantages, hide your disadvantages, and don't let your opponent play to their advantages. Force your opponent to play to their disadvantages, and prioritize turnovers. And that's the whole thing. If you do that every single play, every single snap, every single play, every single game, you will be a significantly better Madden player. So that's all I got for you. If you forgot to leave a like, comment, or subscribe, remember to do that now. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.